it's funny because I think drawing and math might be the most kind of obvious things, but actually it's not that obvious. I actually think what makes a great architect is simply imagination and communication. So I know tons of architects. In fact, I think most of them cannot draw and are horrible with math. So if there's anything holding someone back, thinking like, oh, I'm not good at geometry or algebra or even simple math, that is not something that should hold you back from this. This is simply a vision in your head that you then translate to a team around you, and you get to build amazing things, and then you get to walk in them and experience them. And I think that that's kind of the greatest thing about being an architect. So yeah, don't let those drawing and math skills hold you back. You can do it.
I'm gonna start today. And can I ask, was there like a trigger moment for you when you realized you wanted to be an architect and designer?
Yeah, definitely. I think that well, it was funny because when you're little, you don't really know what an architect is, right? So you don't just like, you're not like 5 and say, oh, mom, I want to be an architect. I didn't even know that was a profession. So I think when you're really young, you just need to do whatever makes you really happy. And for me, it was drawing, but I am an architect that draws. For me, it was definitely drawing. So when I was about 3 or 4, I used to take out my paint set and I used to sit there and scribble paint to, believe it or not, Bob Ross. I mean, this was like the 80s, okay? And I used to love to draw. And my parents would put me into all these art schools. And so when I was growing up, I kept thinking, I'm going to be an artist when I get older because I love to draw and that's what I'm doing. It's art. And then as I got a little bit older, I started to think, what is it that I want to be when I grow up? And I loved art, and I still didn't really know what architecture was. I remember when I was about 9, my dad used to put me in the car and we used to drive around to these really fancy neighborhoods, and we used to look at these great big houses. And we loved to do that. And I never really saw that as a connection between me and architecture. I do remember admiring buildings at a very young age. And then I don't know, I think it was around high school. I was still in art and painting. And then I realized I had to somehow turn that into a degree once I got to college, because my parents were like, okay, you need to pick a professional degree now. And for some reason, they wouldn't let me be an artist. And I don't even think I would have been an artist. And I thought, well, maybe the closest thing to express my creative side and my desire to want to get my visions out there all the time was architecture. And so that was an 8-year journey through school. It was a really long, could be a doctor by now.
How would you describe your style? How do you describe your architectural sort of vision that you have?
So my style is, I really like things that are very curvy and organic. I don't really like things that are like average or normal. I really like to push the boundaries. I like to have the limitations really be stretched. I love imagination. I love really pushing concepts, what it can be, not what it is. I think it's so important that we're constantly exercising our creative side and our creative minds. So I love just, making spaces where people really gain an experience. And it could be residential, it could be commercial, retail, hotel. I just love that entire experience, the envelopment of form, of light, of materials, all kind of coming together.
Is there a particular landmark, a sort of well-known landmark that shares similar design elements to what you do? Any like sort of famous ones that the kids might know?
Well, okay. Is everyone from London, I guess?
No, broadly, but I think an international audience here.
Okay, well, I guess the most kind of iconic one might be like the Sydney Opera House. I wouldn't say that was my favorite piece of architecture. I'm just saying that it is one that a lot of people know, and it kind of envelops and embodies a very type of bold design that people maybe aren't used to. So it's almost like a sculpture within itself. So I think that, examples such as that would be kind of along the same line of how I see things. I always see things very big. I never kind of just, kind of micro focus on this one little thing. It's always about the building and the landscape and the urban planning around it. I feel like it's kind of a joke, but you feel like you're playing God, because you're like, people will walk here. I will create a monument here. They will come in through here. And you're literally like dictating the way people live and work. And so that's why I think it's really cool.
Can I ask you, we already discussed your creativity being kind of the route to this career path for you. We often ask people about the battle between nature and nurture, or that kind of decision making. What's your thoughts on that when we kind of lay that over the creativity question?
You mean what people choose as their career path?
Sorry, I mean, I didn't explain that clearly enough. I mean, creativity, do you think it can be taught? Is it something that's totally natural? What's your slant on kind of kids growing up and being creative or not feeling like they have enough creativity?
Yeah, so I think this is a very interesting question, because I really believe that creativity is something we can nurture. I think that the generation before us really asked us to turn off that side of the brain as we grew up. It was always stop acting like children, start being more adult. And it's funny because today, it's amazing that creativity is what is absolutely driving the economy now. You cannot just have a mundane, simple idea. It's all about innovation, entrepreneurism. It's about being creative, and creativity is a part of your brain that's like a muscle. So if you exercise it and you continuously exercise it, and you're being told like it's okay to be creative, then it is certainly going to grow and it's going to flourish, and you're going to feel more and more okay to make ideas that, adults might have otherwise thought were crazy and now are ingenious. So I think that creativity is definitely something that we can all practice and gain more from the more we use it. I mean, of course, if by nature you're like really creative, that's fantastic, because then you have that extra oomph behind you to be able to develop and maybe explain your ideas easier if you're drawing them. But I still really, really think that there's a lot of creative people out there. And I love the fact that education is so focused towards the arts and so focused towards hands-on right now. Because if you think about the future, a lot of it is going to be animated through artificial intelligence and technology. So really, really boils down to being creative in order to really excel in careers in the future.
Nice.
Go ahead, Walter.
We asked this question to everyone. You've mentioned a bit about your family and about like this inherent sense of creativity. We're a mentoring business. We believe in the idea that everyone has a mentor, and whether you're 6 or 60. You had very successful parents. Your mum had her own business. Your dad was a NASA scientist, I think. Can you tell us a bit about that? And can you also tell us whether you had a formal mentor growing up, or whether you still have one today?
Yeah, I think mentors are super, super important. We should never underestimate mentors. And I've had mentors more when I started a business than when I was growing up. But I would say growing up, my mentor was probably my dad, because he was the one who was, tutoring me for school. And he set a really good example of what it was like to work hard to get what you want and to always strive to do your best. And that education was always on like the top of the peak of everything. So I grew up with really good work ethics, and that was from my dad. So as I grew older in college, I wouldn't say I had a mentor, but I certainly had professors that I connected with and I stayed with that really guided me along through college. So if I had a question like, where should I apply for summer school, my first job, what should my thesis be? It's really nice to have that one person on your side who understands you and wants the best for you. As I was working, it's the same thing. If you're working in a job, you should always find somebody within that company that you really resonate with, that can really help you get on track and help you get to where you want to be. Whether you want to call that a mentor or a guide or just anybody that reinforces positivity in your life and how to get to that next step. When I started a business, the thing is, I had all the creative bits and I could be a great architect, but I did not have any of the business bits. And that's where I really needed a mentor. So it's funny, but one of my greatest strengths is the ability to build relationships. And somehow I was like trotting along, and then I met this great guy literally on the street who was just admiring my artwork, who happened to be a really successful entrepreneur. So the first thing I did is like, let's meet for a coffee. Tell me everything you know about business. What am I doing wrong? And I was first year in business, and he said, you need to, it was all about financials, my P&Ls, my revenues. And I was just like, whoa, I don't even know what he's saying. Well, okay, the business is now 6-7 years on. And I then hired another mentor to, again, guide me on the business side. Of course, now we're very well oiled and we're completely used to business now, but that doesn't mean I don't need another mentor to replace him. So as you go along in life, you always need a mentor to be at level of where you are. And you're always going to outgrow your mentors. And that's totally fine. As long as you feel like the mentor you're with is giving you the strength you need. And you can have many different mentors. You can have 2 or 3 or 5 mentors. It's really important that through life, you have someone who is rooting for you. And sometimes when it's your mom and dad, you don't always listen to them, or sometimes you don't want them that close to what you do in business. So I think it's super important. Don't underestimate it. And one thing, I was reading this book by Sheryl Sandberg, who is the COO of Facebook. She said, the worst thing you can do is ask somebody quite big or famous or whatever to be your mentor, because she's like, that's not how you should position it. Instead, you should create a platform for what you want to do and do something with it and then present it. And then that person will say, I'd like to mentor you. It needs to be like 2 people coming together rather than, I don't know how to say it. It needs to be give and a take rather than just a take. So 2 people having chemistry coming together. It's all about that relationship.
It's a very eloquent way of putting it, and you've answered at least 2 of the other questions I had in mind to ask. So
no.
You've pulled the wool from under me. But my next question was going to be, alongside being a very successful entrepreneur and an architect, you're also a mum.
I am. I love children. That's why I'm doing this. I love kids.
How has that process, I guess, of being a parent affected your work? And how has it changed the way that you look at architecture?
Well, aside from the fact that I love designing children's playrooms now, I love designing children's bedrooms and playgrounds and playrooms. How has that affected my architecture? Well, I definitely a lot more considerate with the materials I use, because now when I make things, I'm thinking, oh, is some child going to bang their head on this? Or, I think as a person, when you become a parent, an incredible thing happens to you. And it's pretty unbelievable because I wouldn't say I was like a children person before. But then after I had a child, I'm just like obsessed with kids. I love kids. I love talking to kids. I love relating to them. And I love playing and communicating with them. It's almost a different type of communication. And in a way, if you think about architecture, it's very abstract. You're trying to communicate a completely untangible idea from your head to a bunch of consultants, up to 1,000 people on a site. And they're supposed to build this thing. And in a way, I think it's strange because that kind of love and that ability to be able to formulate different types of communications have actually, I think, helped me in my job be able to communicate, to, let's say, 40-year-old construction worker the way that I non-verbally communicate to a newborn baby. It's a lot about empathy. It's a lot about appreciation. It's a lot about how you can treat others and be patient. So I feel like parenting really develops these skills and really enforces you as a person as a whole, maybe not even a professional, but in all parts.
Can I ask also, you were obviously successful from a young age. I mean, you went to Harvard, so that's just one thing to mention. Did you feel pressure as a kid, and kind of how did you overcome any pressure surrounding like the potential you had with your future?
Well, I did not have, let's say, traditional tiger parents. I know I'm Asian, but it wasn't like, they never gave me this sort of pressure. It was really weird. I think because I was saying my dad was a mentor and I was kind of watching the way he was working, I felt pressure on myself to do well. You know, it was like I felt like I always needed to be my best, and I did put a lot of pressure, and I still do think that I'm very hard on myself sometimes. When I got to Harvard, I'm not going to lie, that is the most difficult school, well, that I've been to, and I can't really say the world because I haven't been to different schools, but it is the most pressure I ever felt in my whole life. And what I have to say to all the kids out there is, guess what? After school life is so much better. No more exams, no more tests, no more memorization, no more reading like chapters. It's so much better. And I just cannot believe how much more fun real life is, how much easier it is. I mean, for me, Harvard was the most pressure and the most stress that I've ever felt. Now, I mean, maybe because I own my own company, if we miss a deadline, I'm like, that's okay. I'll just call the client and say, we missed this deadline, you know, like, I just feel like there's no pressure. And I try to alleviate the pressure of everyone that works with my company, at least, where we have flexible hours between when they can come in and out. So no one feels like they have to be there at 9 a.m. because that puts a lot of pressure on people. And I do think that we're kind of in this day and age, especially now with COVID and chilling at home, that we need to relax a little bit and enjoy what we do and enjoy our life a bit. And then once you're happy and you don't feel pressure, you can apply that attitude towards what you're doing. And it makes it like that much better.
Nice. Okay, we have loads of questions from the audience. So what Henry and I are going to do is we're going to just take maybe 6 or 7 of them. It's going to be like our quick fire round.
Okay. Roll down this slide. I'm here.
That's cool. And then we're going to take a few minutes for any other final questions that come in. So I've written a few, and there's a few from the crowd. Let's start there. Dara, what's your favorite British London building, if you had to choose one?
My favorite British London building isn't actually a building. And I know that sounds really strange, but for me, I love spaces. And I think about space in a very abstract way, because I don't just think about the positive space, which are the buildings. I actually think about the negative space, which is what they make in between. So for me, one of my favorite streets is Regent Street, because it has this continuous curve, and it creates an amazing sky. And so it's very rare we look up. So next time you're just walking through central London, do me a favor and just look up, and you'll be so shocked by not only what you see in the architecture, but the sky that it's carved out. It's so amazing. And then just walk down Regent Street and you'll just see this amazing curve as you walk down and the space opening up. I just think that that's one of my favorite places.
Nice. Okay. 4 people have said, who's your favorite architect?
Oh my goodness. So I have a lot of favorite architects. Where are you seeing these questions?
We've got a secret question bank.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay, who's my favorite architect?
That comes from Leo, age 9.
Oh, that's so cute. Okay, I have a few. Okay, I don't know if they're gonna know who they are, but I love Herzog de Meuron. So I actually worked for them right out of school. I love Rem Koolhaas. I almost worked for him, but took the job at Herzog de Meuron instead. I do love Peter Zumthor. I like Zaha Hadid, just because she's an amazing woman, super strong. I mean, I like a lot. I like Thomas Heatherwick. I like Farshid Musavi. I like Bjarke Ingels. There's all sorts of architects that I like. Renzo Piano, who did the Shard. I actually see the questions now, so I see some Shard. I do like the Shard. There's a lot of people that don't like the Shard, but actually I do appreciate it.
Nice. Okay, I've got two more that I'm going to pass over to Henry. If you favorite city to live in, if you had to live in any city, where would you like to live?
Guys, I've lived in 15 different cities, and I will tell you right now, so there's no FOMO or grass is greener on the other side. London is the best city to live in. It's the best, okay? So don't ever question whether you want to move. Don't move. London is the best city. I like the weather too. I know that sounds really crazy, but.
Excellent. Also, I've got one. If you were not an architect, what would you have ended up doing?
Ooh, that's a really charged question. If I wasn't an architect, I guess I can't say stay-at-home mom, right? So if I wasn't an architect, I think the amazing thing is that there's so many professions around the creative world that people are not aware of. So like things that I'm actually quite good at is like, I'm really good at brand strategy and branding and brand imaging. I'm very good at creating a brand, as I have with myself. I'm good at, I've become very good at entrepreneurism. I could life coach. I don't know, I could, I really like painting. We're furniture designing right now. Like I would go into products, I would go into art. So there's like, and then there's so many things in between. So I think, yeah, I would do all of that stuff. I would be a light designer. I do installations, which my company does as well. So I feel like all the things we want to do, we're kind of covering it slowly.
It's a selfish question, but my brother's an architect and he specializes in Georgian art.
Ah, cool. Amazing.
Can I have a line on that? Is that a style you like?
Yes, very much so. I mean, you see that all over London, and I think it's absolutely beautiful, the Georgian and Victorian style. It's stunning. I'd much rather live in a refurb of that than a new build, believe it or not. So yeah, I love it.
I'll pass on the feedback. That's great news.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful.
I think we're very sadly nearly out of time.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. This was fun.
We don't let you get away though without playing a game with us. Do you by any chance have a biscuit with you?
I brought a biscuit. It's a cracker.
That you're going to need to bring that. I reckon you're going to need a third of it, probably.
A third?
Yeah, a third.
Okay. How about this?
Yeah, perfect. Absolutely perfect. That's going to be a good one. So I've got a Jaffa cake. And this is a very simple game, Dara. All you have to do is you have to place the cracker on your forehead.
My forehead.
And without using your hands, you've got to get it to your mouth, into your mouth.
I have to take a photo of this because it's unbelievable.
And remember, there'll be lots of people playing at home trying to beat you.
The good thing is too, we're getting video footage of you, so we can send you that too.
Oh, fantastic. So I get to remember myself looking like an idiot.
Yeah. Well, but this is the great thing is that there are kids all over the place watching this who are competing against you at Biscuit Face. And they're going to say, she may be great at architecture, but I crushed her at Biscuit Face.
I would not doubt that. Okay, so here we go.
Yeah, you can do it. Walter is on the buzzer. You've got 30 seconds, as many times to have a go as you want.
Wait, can I ask you a question? So it's on my forehead and I just have to get it to my mouth, but how? Like
you've just got to kind of let it snake its way down here. And my advice is not too much speed at the top.
Yeah. So Dara, you're going to go off in 3 against Henry in 2.
Oh my God.
1, off you go.
Oh, but he's had a lot of practice. Oh no, if it falls, do I try again?
Yeah, you try again.
The Jaffa cake's working badly for me today.
How is that Jaffa cake, Ken? Yes, that's good technique. Good technique, Dara.
Oh.
Go on. Yes.
Oh.
19 seconds. You absolutely smashed him.
Dara, you're on the leaderboard. I think you're our quickest.
Did I beat you?
Yeah, well, Walter and I have done this at least 50 times now.
Oh, you let me beat you.
No, you beat me today. Absolutely, you beat me today. But you are, I think, the thing is the leaderboard is in our office, which is closed for the day, but we will send you a picture of the leaderboard, and I'm pretty sure you're going to be second on the leaderboard out of about 15. So.
Oh, man.
Nice one. Very good.
Wow, I feel so flattered.
That's a
Thank
real
you so
achievement.
much, guys.
That's a real achievement to take into the bank holiday weekend. So enjoy that.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Kallenberg got 4 seconds, so there's work to do there. But Dara, thank you hugely for being on the show. It's so cool listening to your positivity and enthusiasm. And if there are any questions, I'm sure we can direct them back at Dara maybe for next week. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, guys. That was so much fun. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
We appreciate it. Thanks, Dara.
Bye, Lila. Bye, Dylan.
Bye.